sancti, amen. Intro ivo ad altare Dei. Adiutorium nostrum in nomine Domini.
Confiteor Deo omnipotenti beati Maria, Spiritus beati Mary, beati Ioanni Baptiste, Sanctus Apostolis, Petro et Paulo, omnibus sanctis et vobis fratres, quia peccavi nimis cogitatione verbo et opere, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. Ideo precor beati Maria, Spiritus beati Michael, Archangelum beati Ioanna Baptista, Sanctus Apostolos, Petro et Paulo, omnes sanctus et vos fratres, orare pro mea Domino Deum nostrum.
Miserata tuum nipotens Deus et mister peccatus tuus purificator et
Amen.
Confitio Dei Patenti beati Maria Santa Virgine beati Michael Arcangelo beati Ioanna Baptista Sanctus Apostolis Petro et Paulo omnibus sanctis et irripata quia peccavi nimis cogitatione verbo et opera mea culpa, mea maxima culpa Ego preco beati Maria Santa Virgine beati Michael Arcangelo beati Ioanna Baptista Sanctus Apostolis Petro et Paulo omnes sanctus et irripata orare pro mea Domino Deum nostrum.
Miseriatum vestri omnipotens Deus, et de misis peccatis vestris producat vos ad vitam aeternam. Indulgentiam absolutionem et remissionem peccatorum nostrorum, tribuat nobis omnipotens et misericordias Dominus. Deus tu conversus vivificabis nos.
Plebs voluntatis ventre.
Ostendi nobis Domini misericordiam tuam.
Et salutare tuum da nobis.
Domine exaudi orationem meam.
Et clamo meus a te venia.
Dominus vobiscum.
Et cum spiritu tuo.
Oremus. Domine longe facias auxilium tuum a me, ad defensionem meam aspice. Libera me de ore leonis, et corinibus unicornium humilitatem meam. Deus, Deus meus, respice me, quare me de reliquisti, longe salute mea verba delectorum meorum. Domine longe facias auxilium tuum a me, ad defensionem meam aspice. Libera me de ore leonis, et corinibus unicornium humilitatem meam. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Christe eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. Dominus vobiscum. Oremus. Omnipotens sempiterne Deus, qui mano generi ad imitandum humilitatis exemplum, salvatorem nostrum carnem sumere et crucem subire fecisti, concedi propitius, ut et patientiae ipsius haberi documenta, et resurrectionis consortia meriamur, per iundum Dominum nostrum, Iesum Christum, Filium tuum, qui tecum vivit et regnat in unitate Spiritus Sancti, Deus pro omnia saecula saeculorum. Lectio Epistoli Beati Pauli Apostoli et Philippenses. Fratres, hoc enim sentite in vobis, quod et in Christo Iesu, qui cum in forma Dei esset, non rapinam arbitratus est essis equalem Deo, sed semet ipsum ex inanivit, formam servi accipiens, in similitudinem hominum factus, et habitu inventus ut homo. Humiliavit semet ipsum, factus obediens usque ad mortem autem crucis. Propter quod et Deus exaltavit illum, et donavit illi nomen, quod est super omne nomen, ut in nomine Iesu omne genuflectatur celestium, terrestrium et infernorum, et omnis lingua confitiatur, quia Dominus Iesus Christus in gloria est Dei Patris. Tenuisti manum dextram meam, et in voluntati tua deduxisti me, et cum gloria assumpsisti me. Quam bonus Israel Deus rectis corde, me autem peni moti sunt pedes, peni effusi sunt presus mei, quies alavi in peccatoribus, pacem peccatorum videns. Deus, Deus meus, respice in me, quare me de reliquisti, longe salute mea verba delectorum meorum. Deus meus clamabor per diem, nec exaudies, in nocte et non ad insipientiam mihi. Tu autem in sancto habitas, laus Israel, in te speraverunt patres nostri, speraverunt et liberasti eius, a te clamaverunt et salvi facti sunt, in te speraverunt et non sunt confusi. Ego autem sunt vermis et non homo, opprobrium hominum et abiexio plebis. omnes qui videbunt me aspernabantur me, locutis in labiis et moverunt caput. Speravit in Domino repiat eam, salvum faciat eam quoniam vult eam. Ipsi vero consideraverunt et conspexerunt me, diviserunt sibi vestimenta me, et super vestem me miserent sortem. Libera me de ore leonis, et coronibus in coronium humilitatem meam. Qui timetis Dominum laudate eam, universum semen Jacob magnificate eam. Annunciabitur Domino generatio ventura, et annunciabunt celi justitia meus. Populo qui nascetur, quem fecit Dominus. Passio Domini nostri Iesu Christi, secundum Mattheum. In illo tempore.
Jesus came with his disciples to a country place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit down here while I go over yonder and pray." And he took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and he began to be saddened and exceedingly troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is sorrowful even unto death. Wait here and watch with me." And going forward a little, he fell prostrate and prayed, saying, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not as I will, but as thou willest." Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "Could you not then watch 1 hour with me? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Again, a second time he went away and prayed, saying, "My Father, if this cup cannot pass away unless I drink it, thy will be done." And he came again and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. And leaving them, he went back again and prayed a 3rd time, saying the same words over. Then he came to his disciples and said to them, "Sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man will be betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Behold, he who betrays me is at hand." And while he was yet speaking, behold, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now his betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "Whomever I kiss, that is he, lay hold of him." And he went straight up to Jesus and said, "Hail, Rabbi," and kissed him. And Jesus said to him, "Friend, for what purpose hast thou come?" Then he came forward and set hands on Jesus and took him. And behold, one of those who were with Jesus reached out his hand, drew his sword, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Then Jesus said to him, "Put back thy sword into its place, for all those who take the sword will perish by the sword. Or dost thou suppose that I cannot entreat my Father, and he will even now furnish me with more than 12 legions of angels? How then are the scriptures to be fulfilled, that thus it must take place?" In that hour Jesus said to the crowds, "As against a robber you have come out, with swords and clubs to seize me. I sat daily with you in the temple teaching, and you did not lay hands on me." Now all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples left him and fled. Now those who had taken Jesus led him away to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders had gathered together. But Peter was following him at a distance, even to the courtyard of the high priest, and he went in and sat with the attendants to see the end. Now the chief priests and all the Sanhedrin were seeking false witness against Jesus, that they might put him to death. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. But last of all, 2 false witnesses came forward and said, "This man said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to rebuild it after 3 days." Then the high priest, standing up, said to him, "Dost thou make no answer to the things that these men prefer against thee?" But Jesus kept silent. And the high priest said to him, "I adjure thee by the living God that thou tell us whether thou art the Christ, the Son of God." Jesus said to him, "Thou hast said it. Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter you shall see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power of God, and coming upon the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his garment, saying, "He has blasphemed. What further need have we of witnesses? Behold, now you have heard the blasphemy. What do you think?" And they answered him and said, "He is liable to death." Then they spat in his face and buffeted him, while others struck his face with the palms of their hands, saying, "Prophesy to us, O Christ. Who is it that struck thee?" Now Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard, and a maidservant came up to him and said, "Thou also wast with Jesus the Galilean." But he denied before them all, saying, "I do not know what thou art saying." And when he had gone out of the gateway, another maid saw him and said to those who were there, "This man also was with Jesus of Nazareth." And again he denied it with an oath, "I do not know the man." And after a little while the bystanders came up and said to Peter, "Surely thou also art one of them, for even thy speech betrays thee." Then he began to curse and to swear that he did not know the man, and at that moment a cock crowed. And Peter remembered the word that Jesus had said, "Before the cock crows, thou wilt deny me 3 times." And he went out and wept bitterly. Now, when morning came, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel together against Jesus in order to put him to death. And they bound him and led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the procurator. Then Judas, who betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders, saying, "I have sinned in betraying innocent blood." But they said, "What is that to us? See to it thyself." And he flung the pieces of silver into the temple and withdrew, and went away and hanged himself with a halter. And the chief priests took the pieces of silver and said, "It is not lawful to put them into the treasury, seeing that it is the price of blood." And after that they consulted together. They brought with them the potter's field as a burial place for strangers. For this reason, the field has been called even to this day Hakeldama, that is, the field of blood. Then what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet was fulfilled, saying, "And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him who was priced, upon whom the children of Israel set a price, and they gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord directed me." Now Jesus stood before the procurator, and the procurator asked him, saying, "Art thou the King of the Jews?" Jesus said to him, "Thou sayest it." And when he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he made no answer. Then Pilate said to him, "Dost thou not hear how many things they prefer against thee?" But he did not answer him a single word, so that the procurator wondered exceedingly. Now at festival time, the procurator used to release to the crowd a prisoner, whomever they would. Now he had at that time a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they had gathered together, Pilate said, "Whom do you wish that I release to you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called Christ?" For he knew that they had delivered him up out of envy. Now as he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, "Have nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things in a dream today because of him." But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds to ask for Barabbas and to destroy Jesus. But the procurator addressed them and said to them, "Which of the 2 do you wish that I release to you?" And they said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "What then am I to do with Jesus, who is called Christ?" They all said, "Let him be crucified." The procurator said to them, "Why, what evil has he done?" But they kept crying out the more, saying, "Let him be crucified." Now Pilate, seeing that he was doing no good, but rather that a riot was breaking out, took water and washed his hands in sight of the crowd, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this just man. See to it yourselves." And all the people answered and said, "His blood be on us and on our children." Then he released to them Barabbas, but Jesus he scourged and delivered to them to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the procurator took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered together about him the whole cohort. And they stripped him and put on him a scarlet cloak, and plaiting a crown of thorns, they put it on his head and a reed into his right hand. And bending the knee before him, they mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they spat on him, and took the reed, and kept striking him on the head. And when they had mocked him, and took the cloak off him, and put his own garments on him, and led him away to crucify him. Now as they went out, they saw a man of Cyrene named Simon, whom they forced to take up his cross. And they came to the place called Golgotha, that is, the place of the skull. And they gave him wine to drink mixed with gall. But when he had tasted it, he would not drink. And after they had crucified him, they divided his garments, casting lots, to fulfill what was spoken through the prophets, saying, "They divided my garments among them, and upon my vesture they cast lots." And sitting down, they kept watch over him, and they put above his head the charge against him, written, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." Then 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on his right and the other on his left. Now the passers-by were jeering at him, shaking their heads and saying, "Aha, thou who destroyest the temple and in 3 days would build it up again, save thyself. If thou art the Son of God, come down from the cross." In like manner, the chief priests with the scribes and the elders, mocking, said, "He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he is the King of Israel, let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God, let him deliver him if he wants him, for he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" And the robbers also who were crucified with him reproached him in the same way. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. But at the 9th hour Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," that is, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And some of the bystanders, on hearing this, said, "This man is calling upon Elijah." And immediately one of them ran, and taking a sponge, soaked it in common wine, put it on a reed, and offered it to him to drink. But the rest said, "Wait, let us see whether Elias is coming to save him." But Jesus again cried out with a loud voice, and gave up his spirit. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in 2 from top to bottom, and the earth quaked, and the rocks were rent, and the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep arose. And coming forth out of the tombs after his resurrection, they came into the holy city and appeared to many. Now, when the centurion and those who were with him keeping guard over Jesus saw the earthquake and the things that were happening, they were very much afraid, and they said, "Truly, he was the Son of God." And many women were there, looking on from a distance, who had followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him. Among them were Mary Magdalene, and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. Now, when it was evening, there came a certain rich man of Arimathea, Joseph by name, who was himself a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered the body to be given up, And Joseph, taking the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock. Then he rolled a large stone to the entrance of the tomb and departed. But Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there, sitting opposite the sepulchre. And the next day, which was the one after the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees went in a body to Pilate, saying, "Sir, we have remembered how that deceiver said while he was yet alive, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' Give orders, therefore, that the sepulchre be guarded until the 3rd day, or else his disciples may come and steal him away and say to the people, 'He has risen from the dead.' And the last imposture will be worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "You have a guard. Go, guard it as well as you know how." So they went and made the sepulchre secure, sealing the stone and setting the guard.
Credo in unum Deum, Patrem omnipotentem, factorem celi et terrae, visibilium omnium et invisibilium, et in unum Dominum Iesum Christum, Filium Dei unigenitum, et ex Patre natum ante omnia saecula, Deum de Deo lumen de lumine, Deum verum de Deo vero, genitum non factum, consubstantialem Patri, perquem omnia facta sunt, qui propter nos homines et propter nostram salutem descendit de celis, et incarnatus est Spiritus Sancto ex Maria Virgine, et homo factus est. Crucifixus etiam pro nobis sub Pontio Pilato passus et sepultus est, et resurrexit tertia die secundum Scripturas, et ascendit in caelum sedit ad dexteram Patris, et iterum venturus est cum gloria judicare vivos et mortuos, cuius regni non erit finis, et in Spiritum Sanctum Dominum et vivificantem, qui ex Patre Filioque procedit, qui cum Patre et Filio simul adorator et cum glorificator, qui locutus est per prophetas, et unam sanctum catholicam et apostolicam ecclesiam, confitior unum baptisma in remissionem peccatorum, et expecto resurrectionem mortuorum, et vitam venturi saeculi. Amen. Dominus vobiscum et cum spiritus tuo. Oremus. Improperium expectavit cor mem et miseriam, et sustinui qui simul mecum contris deretur et non fuit, consolantem me quaesivi et non inveni, dederunt inescam meam fel, et inciti me poteverunt me acetur. Orate, fratres.
Suscipiat Dominus sacrificium Dominus tuis, ad laudem et gloriam nomini sui, ad utilitatem corpi nostrum tuisque ecclesia sui sancta.
Per omnia saecula saeculorum. Dominus vobiscum. Sursum corda. Gratias agamus Domino Deo nostro. Vere dignum et justum est, equum et salutare nos tibi semper et ubique gratias agere. Domine sancte Pater omnipotens et eterne Deus, qui salutem humani generis in ligno crucis constituisti, ut unde mortis oriebatur, inde vita resurgeret, et qui in ligno vincebat, in ligno quoque vinceretur, per Christum Dominum nostrum. Per quem maestatem tuam laudant angeli adorant dominationes tremant potestates, celi terrorumque virtutes acquiatis seraphim, socia exultatione concelebrant, cum quibus et nostras voces ut admiti iubias deprecamur, supplici confessioni dicentes, Sanctus, 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 Dominus Deus Sabaoth, plenis in celi et terra gloria tua, hosanna in excelsis, benedictus qui venit in nomine Domini, hosanna in excelsis. quoque peccatoribus. Per omnia saecula saeculorum. Oremus. Precepti salutaribus moniti et divini institutioni formati audemus dicere. Pater noster qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, veniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem,
sed libera nos malo.
per omnia saecula saeculorum. Pax Domini sit semper vobiscum.
Et cum spiritu tuo.
Agnus Dei qui tollis peccatum mundi miserere nobis. Agnus Dei qui tollis peccatum mundi miserere nobis. Agnus Dei qui tollis peccatum mundi dona nobis pacem. Domine non sum dignus. Domine non sum dignus. Domine non sum dignus. Pater, si non potes ix calix transire nisi biba millum, fiat voluntas tua. Dominus vobiscum. Oremus. Per uius Domini operatione mysterii, et vitia nostra purgentur, et justa desideria compliantur, per Dominum nostrum, Iesum Christum, Filium Tuum, et tecum vivit regnat in unitate Spiritus Sancti, Deus per omnia saecula saeculorum. Dominus vobiscum. Benedicamus Dominum. Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus. Dominus vobiscum. Sequentia Sancti Evangelii secundum Matthäum. Illo tempore cum apropinquaset Iesus Hierusalimus, mis et venisset per page et montem ad montem Oliveti, tunc misit dos discipulos suos dicens eis, iti in castellum quod contra vos est, et statim invenietis asinam alligatum, oculum mea, solivite ad educite mihi, et si quis vobis aliqui dixerit, dicite quia Dominus hic opus habet, et confestim dimitet eus. Hoc autem votum factum est, ut ad imperator quod dictum est per prophetum dicendem, dicite filiae Sion, ecce rex tuus venit, tibi mansuetus, sedent super asinam et pullum filium subjugalis. Euntes autem discipulis, fecerunt sicut precepit illis Iesus, traduxerunt asinam et pullum, et imposuerunt super eus vestimentas sua, eum de super sedere fecerunt. Plurima autem turbas traverunt vestimentus in via, ali autem cedebant ramus de arboribus, et sterenebant in via, turbe autem, quae precedebant et quae sequebantur, clamabant dicentes, Hosanna Filio David, benedictus qui venit in nomine Domini.